Prime's got the money. Woo! He has a new deal.
Wow.
If you missed it, you're just joining us. Well, we have some breaking news to share that's being reported by several people up in Boulder. Brian Howell, Adam Munster Tiger were the first to be on it. Deion Sanders has himself a new deal. It's worth $54 million, and it's over 5 years, and that's what the deal is. 5 years, $54 million. It's not an extension. They shredded up the old contract and just got a new one. So it's 5 years. It's $54 million. Over those 5 years, Deion will make $10 million this year, $10 million next year, $11 million, followed by another $11 million, and then the final year, the fifth and final year, Prime will be making $12 million at that point. And we'll see if that's still a high number for coaches, depending on where college football goes. We're also learning he is getting a salary that's triple of that of any former CU coach.
Yeah.
Can't believe that the highest paid coach as far as annual average value goes was Carl Durrell, and he is tripling that number for Deion Sanders. So this is a home run, Cecil.
Yes.
Again, Buffs fans, college football fans here in the city, we want to hear from you. What do you think of this deal? The question I want to hear you answer and us kick around is, all right, now there's 5 years. There's already been pretty big expectations when Shador, Travis, and the crew were there, and they did get to a bowl game. Now what do we look like over the next 5 years? What do we expect Prime's team to be?
I think I need to do a confessional.
Oh, okay.
I may do a confessional video.
Yes.
Yeah, because when there was the opening, I said, Deion Sanders is my pipe dream. I don't think it'll happen, but if it does, it'll be amazing. And then it happened, and then I said this on these airwaves. If he's only here for 2 years, I'm fine with that. My confession is I wouldn't have been fine with that because I want more Deion. More Deion, more winning from this team. Revolutionized Boulder after the most incredible turnaround in college football history. It certainly seems like that. The impact on the university, the impact on their social networking, like the impact on the field, the product, and now it's all about winning. Winning the Big 12.
Yeah.
Going to the college football playoff. That's what your sole focus can be. And I love this for Prime, Coach Prime, and I love this for the Buffaloes.
John up in Broomfield has the same idea. And this is cool from John, right? This is how much stuff sports means. I've got tears in my eyes with happiness. Coach Prime's extension is done. We're back from irrelevance, and now it's time to compete for a national championship. Go Buffs! It's in all caps, so I had to say it like that.
Okay.
For my guy John up in Broomfield. So he's talking about the same thing you're talking about there. Now, Prime has been here for 2 years. Hell of a run. I know the first year was disappointing the way that it ended.
Sure.
And then in the second year, it's still disappointing the way they got their butts kicked in the Alamo Bowl, but you went to a bowl game. And that part was exciting.
Right.
Now it is exactly that, man. It is exactly that. What I expect over the next 5 years, I expect 50 regular season wins. This team has to win 10 games moving forward in the regular season to, one, compete in the Big 12 for that automatic qualifying spot. Obviously, winning the championship of your conference will get you that. Or if not, show well enough that you are considered, at least in the conversation at the end of every year, that you are in a college football playoff race under Deion Sanders.
I absolutely love this because it means more sellouts, more national attention. The national audience grows, applications grow from out of state. Like everything just gets larger with Deion. Deion 2.0, the next era of Buffs football. It's going to be fantastic. I love this for the university.
Yes, I do. I do too. And like you said, it's what Jay Norvell's got going up there at CSU. Now what we have here with Prime, and we're going to go to the Johnson Auto Plaza hotline. We will bring in Brian Howell right now, who broke the story. Brian, we really appreciate you making time for us this quickly into the story, man. Great stuff with the reporting and sharing the numbers there. My first question is, how long has this been in the works? Cecil and I kind of kicked it around, 2 weeks ago, where Prime said, I got to take care of my guys first and then worry about me. Well, he was telling the 100% truth there. How long has this been in the works?
Quite a while. I talked to Rick George in December, and he told me they were talking. So at that point, he said they were going to kind of wait until after the bowl game and everything to kind of really sit down and do it. But I know talks have been going since into last season. So it's been a lot of back and forth, and they finally came to something that both parties are happy with. So it's good to get it out of the way because I've just kind of been hanging over Buff Nation all offseason to this point.
Brian, thank you for joining us again. Your phone's got to be blowing up right now, so we appreciate your time. Maybe an odd question, but did the Belichick deal have anything to do with the structure of this deal? They're making the same amount of money, it looks like.
No, I don't think so. I think it's more – I don't know if it's Belichick. I think it's more, some of the others. Like, I know he wanted more than Kurt Signetti's making it in Indiana, and, there's some things like that. But I think it's just something that gets him in that $10 million range. Not range. I mean, he'll make $10 million this year, and then it goes up after that. So I think it's more of just rewarding him for what he's done for the university.
Brian, I don't know if you have this answer, but I have to ask because we're all looking for it. Any idea on buyout, or is that something that's going to come later on in the day?
Yeah, so hold on. Let me open up my story. I got it for you real quick.
Oh, perfect.
Here. If he leaves for a college or pro job before December 31st of this year, it's $12 million. It goes down to $10 million next year, 6 after that, and then 4 and 3.
Okay.
So it's not a huge buyout, which I would guess Deion would not have wanted a huge buyout.
Brian, what does this say to Julian Lewis?
I think it tells him and really anybody, Jordan Steaton, all those guys, that Coach Prime's here and that they made the right choice to come to play for Coach Prime, and that I think that it kind of reaffirms that commitment and everything that Coach Prime has said, that he loves Boulder and he wants to be here. That reaffirms all of that with this move today.
You were talking earlier, I asked you about when the conversation started. So back in December, I mean, were the conversations with Jerry Jones, and I know there was his name associated with the Raiders before the Raiders kind of nipped that in the bud. Did that conversation or the conversations with Jerry Jones up this number in any way, or was this kind of the number that Prime was looking at before any of that even started?
Yeah, I don't know all that. I wouldn't think it would. It's my understanding there was never really serious discussions about the Cowboys' job, that it was more of something that, Coach Prime would have been really interested in if Shedeur and Shiloh could both be on the Cowboys, which was going to be really hard anyway. I believe him when he says the only way he wants to coach the NFL is if he can coach his sons. And I don't know where that would have been possible. I mean, Tennessee, probably Cleveland, places like that, but those jobs aren't open. So I don't think any of that was serious. I think it's more of just, I think it really comes down to them wanting to reward Coach Prime for everything, not just what he did on the field last season, but the TV, the enrollment at school, things like that. So there's so many elements to Coach Prime, what he's done for Boulder.
When we look at Deion, I love in the statement, he says, we've just scratched the surface of what this program can be. I know it's super early, but we're all excited, Brian. So I ask you, what is that? What is that upside? I've said college football playoff, maybe not this year, but in a couple of years. Where do you think this team can be now that Coach Prime has committed to 5 more seasons? Yeah,
I think the sky's the limit, honestly. I think there's some feeling, and it's hard not to feel this way because I sort of feel this too. It's like, how are they going to be better without Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter? I mean, how can you get better? But maybe that's just the launching point, and there's potential you see there, and better players come in. I think that when this contract comes out, now I think a lot of recruits are going to look at CU differently. And so I do think that the college football playoff is definitely something they should shoot for. I mean, I had a story yesterday that, CU is going to put turf now at Folsom Field. And
right.
Rick George told me one of the things that they thought about, one of the big things they thought about was being able to host a college football playoff game with that new system. So that's kind of a bold statement to, put in some turf so you can host a college football playoff when you've never been there yet. So I think that that's clearly their goal. That's what they think they can do.
Brian Howell, our guest, he's with us on the Johnson Auto Plaza hotline, breaking the news, the story, that it is Deion agreeing to a 5-year extension worth up to $54 million. Brian, I do want to go back to that buyout number. So you said it's $12 million and $10 million in these first couple of years. Is that a big enough number to just turn teams off where we don't do the dance we just did this offseason?
I don't think so. I think when you look around college football and even probably the NFL, I'm not sure there's a lot of numbers that turn teams off if they really want their guy, right? I mean, when you look at Texas A&M willingly giving Jimbo $75 million to go away, I think teams, if you really want him, sure, $10 million, here you go. So I don't think it's probably big enough for that, but it's something that if he leaves, would certainly be a big boost for CU. I think it's more a benefit to CU than it would be a deterrent to other teams.
Brian Howell joining us. Brian, is this another pinch me moment? That's the way I feel right now. It's like when he was first hired and I said, hey, if you get 2 years, I'm going to be happy. I totally wanted more. Now we've got more. I mean, how do you feel upon breaking this story and this news that Deion has a 5-year contract?
Well, I mean, I've got to eat a little bit of humble pie because I always thought this was a 2-year deal for him.
Right.
That, once his sons were gone, he was going to be gone. And once it looked like he was going to be back this year, I thought, all right, fine, 1 more year, then he's gone. But this feels like it's going to be long-term, and then I was wrong on that. And I'm happy to be wrong on that. So I think it is one of those pinch me moments, but it's also, man, you look at the number, and I was just looking back that prior to him, the highest paid coach in CU history was Carl Durrell at 3.6.
That's crazy.
This is triple that amount, the average salary. And to think that the University of Colorado can pay this kind of money for a football coach would have been unheard of literally 3-4 years ago.
Brian, we're grateful for your time. Couple more questions
you,
for
Brian.
you. I know you're super busy. Going away from kind of the contract, what about this spring game that Deion proposed? I was reading yesterday they were expecting an answer today. Do you think they get that? And what do you think, if you had to guess or speculate, the NCAA is going to allow them to do, if anything at all?
I don't know if they're going to get it today. I was told, Rick told me the other day, I met with him on Wednesday, that they expect one by early next week. And so he's hopeful. I said, are you confident? And he goes, I don't know if I'm confident, but I'm hopeful. And so I think a lot of what they're banking on is that Deion Sanders is a mover. And, he's a guy that moves the needle and he can get things done. And I think that's why they're hopeful for that. And TV drives everything. We know that.
Yeah.
And if ESPN looks at this and says, well, heck yeah, if we can have a competition between CU and Syracuse on TV, we've already got it slated for ESPN2. If they want it, I think it could get done. So I'm curious to see what the NCAA actually rules, but they feel confident they can get it done. I mean, it's in 3 weeks, so they have to figure it out soon.
Right.
Right.
As I pointed out in my story yesterday, I went back to 2020. You remember how weird that year was with the COVID year.
Right.
Thanksgiving night, they were supposed to play USC on a Saturday in LA. Thanksgiving night, they announced the USC is not going to play because of COVID, and San Diego State's going to come here. And San Diego State came here 2 days later and played. So, and I know fans weren't involved in all that, so there's all those logistics. But if they could make that happen in literally a couple of days, they can figure this out in 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, you would think so. All right, Brian, great stuff, man. Know that you're super busy. We're really grateful you made some time for us. He's Brian Howell from the Daily Camera, the Buff Zone. He's got all things covered, CU, and he is all over Deion's brand new 5-year, $54 million extension. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
There he is, Brian Howell, 33. That's the Twitter handle. DailyCamera.com is where you can read it and get the details. It's 5 years. It's $54 million.